Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say Amen. Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say Amen.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. Welcome to Unity in the Heart, a Unity Spiritual Center in the heart of St. Paul. We are so grateful for everyone who has joined us today, whether you are here in person or whether you're on the Zoom call, the Zoom program, the Zoom connection we have here. I'm not even sure what to call it. Zoom. Good to see you, Zoomers. Okay. Together, those who are here and those who are joining us online, we are all one community. Today's service team consists of Dennis Curley, who's on the piano. Hooray! Our guest musicians today are Amy and Adams, well known to all of us. It's delightful to have you back. Our song leader, who's going to be this? Dennis, you the song leader? Dennis is the song leader, and Mary is going to be accompanying all of us on the piano while we are singing. Thanks to Cheryl Fairbanks, who is a tech support off-site today. And our speaker and meditation leader is Lou Longmire, who's got a fascinating background. He describes, if you read the email this week in Unity, you'll know he describes himself as a student, a speaker, a counselor, a lecturer, a minister, a husband, a lover, and now explorer into the heart of being fully human. In addition to that, his day job is in addition to all of that, he's actually been an inspector, construction inspector, industrial construction inspector for a long time, 23 years, is it? The last 5 years working on the light rail program going down to Eden Prairie. So he says the nice thing about his job is he's always right. Inspectors always are right. Anyway, it's delightful to have you here with us today. My name is Warren Wolf. I'm the platform assistant today. And now, I don't know what to call you, Reverend? Sure, we'll call you Reverend. Reverend Lou is going to be delivering our morning prayer.
Thank you. If you would join me by closing your eyes, I invite you to close your eyes. I invite you to get comfortable in the place you find yourself this morning. Let your shoulders relax. Let your neck relax. Let the stresses and the strains of this week just drip off you like so much spring rain. And breathe deeply in connected breaths. We are so blessed and so thankful to know that there is one power, one presence in this universe. It's the divine and holy essence that is all. And we're so grateful to know that we, you and I, are a part of that family, no less than the trees and the stars. And we know that when our thoughts and our prayers emanate out into the universe, emanate into the ears of that holy essence, they are heard and listened to, and they are responded to. Such an amazing system we find ourselves in. And as members of this community, we practice that communication, praying and meditating. And when we walk out these doors into the mission field, we take with us that shining example of our connectedness to the higher power. And for all of this, we are so thankful and so blessed. And with that, I say amen.
Good morning, everyone. Both of our songs are in the White Book. The first one is number 21, Let Me Live from the Heart. This is one of those that we sing through twice. It's a short little one. So if you would stand as you were able and join Mary and me in singing song number 21, Let Me Live from the Heart. Let me live from the heart, doing what's been mine to do from the start. We all have a gift to share that can make a difference to someone somewhere. When we live from the heart, when we live from the heart, when we live from the heart, let me live from the heart, doing what's been mine to do from the start. We all have a gift to share that can make a difference to someone somewhere. When we live from the heart, when we live from the heart, when we live from the heart. Thank you. You can be seated.
I'm aware of one announcement today. On Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month, we'll have our usual Learning Circle gathering, Zoom gathering at 7 p.m. Wednesday. The address for that is, the web address is on the calendar of the Unity website. That's an opportunity to get together, to get to meet each other in a different way and spend an hour talking about what's going on in our lives. And we'll have a question. I don't know what the question is yet, but we'll have one that we can address if we want to. And as usual, we'll go off into all kinds of other areas as well. So please join us. Any other? Yes.
Yes. Table Salt's annual storytelling show is back after a brief hiatus. You know, things around COVID got weird, and then we did one online, and I don't believe we've done one since then. So we are back. As you know, we always do, we center our topic around a word that begins with the letter F. We did a whole series of stories on fluid and fear and family, and I've forgotten all of the others. But this year's word is fiction. And we have some of the best storytellers in town, Katie McEwen, Jim Robinson, Josh Carson, Janae Falconer, a whole bunch of great people. 3 Sundays. The first one is tonight, 7 p.m., and then May 5th and May 12th, also at 7 p.m. If you go to tablesaltproductions.com, you'll see all the information. But I meant to tell you last week, and I was in Arizona, so I didn't. So anyway, there you go.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay. Great. Sorry? I'm sorry, what the annual? Okay. Good question. Hold the question. We'll get there. Thank you very much. We're now going to recite our affirmation of faith, which is printed in your bulletin. There is one and only one presence and power active in my life and in the universe, the all-loving and wise Spirit of God. Let us also recite our vision statement for unity in the heart, also in your bulletin. Led by Spirit, we recognize God within everyone as we co-create infinite love, peace, and abundance in our global community. The daily word for today is inner peace. Sunday, April 28th, 2024. I call upon the infinite peace of God within. I find peace in the beauty around me. A clear day, flowers swaying in the breeze, a gently flowing stream, all reveal the presence of God and reflect my inner nature. Lasting peace resides within my mind and heart. If that peace is temporarily disturbed, if I am feeling out of sorts about my life or the situation of a dear one, I draw upon my strength and stability by turning away from outer circumstance and going within. I quiet the chatter of my mind, perhaps thinking of one of my peaceful places, imagining the breeze caressing my face and hearing the trickling stream. In this quiet state, I connect with my source and begin to feel a settling calmness. I consider my life from this higher perspective and remain centered and serene, no matter what is happening in my life or around the world. And from John 20, verse 26, peace be with you. And it is now time for our second congregational song.
Which, as I said, is also in the White Book. It's number 36. Number 36, My Dedication. If you will stand as you are able, turn to page number 36 and join us in singing My Dedication. Here I am, Lord, use me, guide me, fill me, take me, lead me by your will. Here I am, Lord, ready to follow, to serve you, to love you, to be you in this world. Thy will is done through me this day. Thy will is done through me this day. Lord, you call, I answer, I'm open, I listen, I hear you, I feel you move in me. Lord, I come closer, humbled, surrendered, lifted, committed to your plan. Thy will is done through me this day. Thy will is done through me this day. Here I am, Lord, I come. Here I am, Lord, I come. Thank you. You can be seated.
The Unity Movement was founded on prayer. We would now like to focus our attention on our prayer needs today. Please take a moment to bring to mind any prayers that you may have. Your prayer may be a prayer of joy or gratitude, a prayer of concern for yourself or another, or anything that is close to your heart right now. Now let us pray together. Our loving God, we know that all prayers are answered in the perfect way and time. Our hearts and minds are filled with divine spirit as we feel the presence and power of God working through us. We affirm the highest good in all situations. Those present, please place your prayer notes in the basket at offering time. We will hold them in prayer here at Unity in the Heart for 30 days and also send them on to Silent Unity for additional prayer. Also, anyone may send a prayer request to our prayer chaplains at Unity in the Heart at gmail.com. And now, Amy and Adam, it's time for our first guest song.
I started singing with my mom when I was in her womb. So I knew what I was supposed to do. Sitting by my window, softly looking at the rain. How I wish that all my tears could wash away the pain of all the world and all the senseless pain and dying. But I know I can. So won't you let me be a light that opens up your eyes to see the glow of love. 'Cause then we'll be like eagles soaring in the sky, shining from above. If your burden's heavy, won't you let me ease your load? Won't you let me wipe your sweating brow? And if your bones are weak and weary, please come rest a while, and I will comfort you somehow. So won't you let me be a light that opens up your eyes to see the glow of love. 'Cause then we'll be like eagles soaring in the sky, shining from above. This is why I sing my songs, to soothe your aching souls and to let you feel my peace inside. And all I want for us to know is we are always whole and are human love. We don't need to hide. Join us. So won't you let me be a light that opens up your eyes to see the glow of love. 'Cause then we'll be like eagles soaring in the sky, shining from above. One more time. Won't you let me be a light that that opens up your eyes to see the glow of love. 'Cause then we'll be like eagles soaring in the sky, shining from above.
Songs to soothe our aching souls. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's always delightful to have you here. The music is always, just touches me. Thank you. Get on the right page here. Well, thank you very much for being here again. And now it's time for Reverend Lou to give a message to us, which will be followed by his meditation.
Oh, I got to stay by the microphone. I'm usually a wanderer, so I'll make it a point to stay by the microphone. Why did the Buddhist return the vacuum cleaner to the store? Too many attachments. So today, boy, this actually is a pretty sensitive thing. If I stand, I have like a bubble here that I can move around, but I'm usually a wanderer, so I'll try to stick by the lectern. I'm going to ask you to do a little work today, this morning, and that work is going to consist of you sitting there and not moving. You like it already, and using your powers, your intuitive powers of imagination and insight and instinct. For example, imagine right now there's a table, one of those, they're probably here, you know, the kind of folding tables that you see in church basements, you know, that are 8 feet long and have the legs that come down. So imagine that sitting right in front of us here. And imagine in the middle of that table is a big jar, a glass bottle, sort of like one of those Culligan water bottles, but bigger. Like an amphora, big glass, 20 pounds, you know, big bulbous glass jar with a small neck at the top. You got it? Okay. Now, imagine inside that jar is a goose. Perfectly healthy, perfectly normal Canada goose. And we know that it's a normal Canada goose because behind the goose on the bottom of the jar, there's poop dropping. So we know that it's a real goose. Okay? Perfectly healthy. You got that? It's in the jar. Got it? Now there's a riddle that I want to share with you. If you've heard this before, just let it go. Just enjoy the reaction of those around you when they get the riddle. But here's the riddle. I want you to get the goose out of the jar without harming the goose or breaking the glass, damaging the glass. How do you get the goose out of the jar without breaking the glass or harming the goose in any way? You imagine him out. That's how you got him in there. Huh? You did that. You used your intuitive, God-given power of imagination to create a table, create a jar, create the goose in the jar, and then get him out of the jar. How many people had the goose in the jar? How many of you had the goose out of the jar? My work is done. Oh, really? Just 2 of you? Wow. All right, we got some work to do here. So there's one example of one of the powers of imagination, intuitive powers that we have. Here's another one. I want you to observe what I'm about to do, and I want you to, this isn't a trick question, you don't need to get all fancy, there's 4 words will do it. I want you to tell me what I'm doing. Okay, you ready? Here we go. This is a demonstration. That's it. What was I doing? What did I do? What I did was I exercised the abductor muscles in this side of my body. The muscles on the top of my shoulder contracted just a bit. The muscles in my forearm contracted, so my forearm came forward. The muscles that control the wrist, which are in the forearm, also contracted just a bit. I turned my head. I allowed that the light that was emanating off of this structure to go into the retina in the back of my eye. And I noticed this 1/2-inch long metal thing here and about a 1/4-inch long metal thing here. The light reflecting off of those went into the back of my eye to the retina, which went into the... But none of you said that. You said you checked the time, right? Every one of you was thinking that. Because what you did was you took the 30,000-foot level view of what I did, and you used your power of wisdom to make a determination. That whole abductor muscle thing is accurate, but none of you said that. Because you all know. You have the power of wisdom to take all of that information at the 30,000-foot level and say, he was checking the time. The difference between wisdom and knowledge, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. I don't know if you knew that or not. Tomato is a fruit. We know it's a fruit. There's 2 things that determine that it's a fruit. One is that the actual fruit itself comes from the flower of the plant. The ovum inside the bottom of the flower of the plant is what becomes the fruit. And the seeds of the plant are inside the fruit or on the fruit, like a strawberry. But that's what makes it a fruit. A tomato's a fruit. The difference between knowledge and wisdom is knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing you don't put a tomato in fruit salad. That's the difference. Our topic today has to do with this concept of your life's work, your life's ambition, your life's calling, if you will. Those 2 examples I just shared with you in the beginning are going to come to play a little bit later. But I want to talk about this understanding of what your responsibility in life is supposed to be. Mark Twain said, the 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. So I have a belief. My belief is that long before you entered this plane, you were given an assignment. Don't know what it is. That's for you to either practice right now or to find and work on it. Some people call it a calling. Some people call it a gift. St. Paul, when he was I can't remember what island he was on, but he was writing a letter to the Romans. It became the book of Romans. He was writing a letter to the people in Rome, the new church in Rome. And he was trying to describe what it means to be a member of this crazy new organization that was founded by this guy who got nailed to a cross in Jerusalem. And he was teaching them or trying to share with them what it meant to be a Christian, what it meant to be a member of the church. And what he was saying was, just like you, we all have different parts of our bodies. You have a spleen, you have fingertips, you have eyes, and they all are completely different, but they're all spectacularly necessary for the function of the whole. And then he said, just like the body of Christ, everybody here has a function and a task. And when you fulfill that function or that task, you're completing the body of the work. You're emanating this God energy. Now that was really what Jesus was teaching, was we all have this assignment, and when you fulfill it and you go out those doors into I love saying that, into the mission field. That's where it begins, really. People out there see you and they see this incredible emanation coming from you. And if you're willing to fulfill that function, to fulfill that task that you've been assigned, it just makes the whole picture beautiful. And here's what Paul says. he says that you're given this gift by the grace of God. God has given us different gifts for doing certain things so well. So if God has given you the ability to prophesy, speak out with as much faith as God has given you. If your gift is serving others, serve them well. If you are a teacher, teach. If your job is to encourage others, this is where in the New King James Version it says to exhort. If your job is to exhort, practice exhortation. That's what I'm doing right now, encouraging and teaching and talking. If your gift is to encourage others, encourage. If God has given you the gift of leadership, take the responsibility seriously. And if you have the gift of showing kindness to others, do it gladly. So I believe that this calling, this gift is ordained. It's preordained. It's an assignment that you've been given. But on the macro level, your life's work, or on the micro level, when you go out that door and you go home today and you're dealing with your spouse, your children, your next door neighbor, your employer, your employee, and something comes up, some little irritating issue comes up, it's an opportunity for you to act. And there's something that stands in our way, and that something is fear. Whether it's macro, I want to be a world famous country singer, but why am I not a world famous country singer? What's holding me back? What is it that's stopping me? It is not unique to our way of thinking, this concept of fear. Krishna writes, the sense of fear, the conquering of fear is the first virtue. Buddha says, the secret to existence is to have no fear. Lao Tzu says, there is no illusion greater than fear. And one of our co-founders, Charles Fillmore, writes, our beliefs shape our realities. If you believe in the fear, it's going to hold you back. So whether the fear is huge and a giant roadblock stopping you from creating yourself, creating your career, or whether it's that little niggling thing that's stopping you from having a communication, it's all the same thing. It's all that roadblock. I have to share with you a little bit of story of my story. Those of you who were here in January, the end of January, know that Karen is my wife. She's an LUT. She's very, very active in the church. And she and I have been together for 16 years, married for 5. And there's an issue that I need to talk with her about. Are we recording this? Is this going out on live stream? Is she watching? Could she be watching this?
I hope so.
Incredible woman, lovely person, LUT, star, shining, great. Love you, baby. Am I going to hear about this when I get home? But there's an issue. There's an issue that I need to talk with her about. And if she's watching this, it's going to be, we'll be talking about it. Without going into detail, let's just say it's not a relationship-rending issue. It's just something that's been jabbing me in my side for a long time, and I need to talk with her. And I am afraid. I'm afraid. What am I afraid of? What are you afraid of? What's stopping me from having this conversation with her? Is it I imagine her blowing up and screaming and starting to call me names and challenge my worthiness. That's been a big thing for me, is getting over this concept of worthlessness, worthiness. Who am I to stand up here and speak to you? What do I know that I can stand up in front of you incredible people and preach? By the way, I'm not a reverend. I'm not an LUT. I'm not a pastor. I call myself a slob on the bus, just like everybody else. My business card says CEO, Chief Enlightenment Officer. That's how I describe myself. You see how easy it was for me to get away from the fear thing? I don't want to do it. So I have this fear. I have this fear of bringing this topic up to her. And honey, if you're watching this, I need to do it. I need to talk to you about this because it's important to me. And I definitely feel the fear. And I know that the truth is, in New Thought, we all know that there's truth and error. That's what Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore talk about, is truth versus error. Those are the two big issues that we deal with. And I know what the truth is, and the truth is that I love you, and the truth is that this issue that I want to talk with you about is square, and it's legitimate, and it's the truth, and it's important. But boy, do I feel that fear coming up. And that's just this little silly little thing between my wife and I. What about my career? What about your punching through and becoming this honky-tonk country singer? Why not? I love the example of, I'm getting off track here. I love the example of nightclub stage hypnotists. You ever seen those where they pull up 20 people and they try to get them hypnotized, and out of the 20, maybe 5 or 6 or 7 really go under deeply? And there's some woman who's this mousy little, person who's, you would never in a million years imagine her to be doing this. And he asks her, what's your ambition? And she says, oh, I love Barbra Streisand. I'd love to sing like Barbra Streisand. He goes, yeah, right. And then he snaps his fingers and gives her the mic, and she sings, people who need people. She is Barbra Streisand, right? You've seen this. And then he snaps his finger and she turns back into all of that passion is in her. It's all there, but it's fear that keeps it locked away. I have this vision. Use your imagination here. You've seen a loom, an old-fashioned loom, that goes back and forth and creates the fabric. On the top of that loom is a beam, a big bar that stretches across. It's called the weaver's beam. And from that bar hangs the vertical strands that get woven into. And it gets tighter and tighter as it weaves. It gets tighter and tighter. And that's the fabric. That's the tapestry that's being made. And that tapestry is the tapestry of all of the lies and the contrivances and the fabrications and the stories that we tell ourselves that just weave together this blanket, this block that we can't see through and we can't move through. And it's all error. It's all baloney is another B word I want to use, but I can't. But it's this fabric that just is tightly woven, hanging from that weaver's beam. And we made it. I made my own. You made yours. And it's all error thought, as Charles Fillmore would say. Yeah. To break through, I want to share with you, it's not your fight to break through that tapestry, that block, that wall of fear. It's not your fight. It's God's fight. It's God's energy that's going to do it. I call this the big book of recovery, without going into detail. There are some steps that they suggest that you take. And one of the steps that they suggest that you take is that you make a decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of God, not over to the commandment and the demand and the instruction that you're going to get. No. That you make a decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of God, as you understand God to be. They refer to that as the higher power. Well, in unity, we practice the 5 principles. We know the 5 principles. And the first 2 are God is all, God is everything. God, I love to say, God sleeps in the rocks, awakens in the plants, moves around in the animals, and begins to know itself in us. God is all. And we are a part of that all. We are in the family of God. So knowing that, tapping into that power, tapping into that resource is what's going to get us through and break through that barrier, that error thought. There's a story about a fella who had just such a task, who had an obstacle to go through. And he was on his way to take care of business. And he happened his way across a stream. And there's the stream trickling through the woods. Picture that stream. Not a big one, but one that's been there for millennia. And he looks down at the stream and he knows that water is such a significant metaphysical representation of life and of the movement of life and the movement of the divine energy into and through our lives. And he looks through the water and he sees these stones in the bottom of the creek, and they're beautiful and they're smooth. They've been worn, they've been tested. And he reaches into that cool water and he takes several of those stones. And to him, those stones represent those intuitive powers of imagination, reason, wisdom, memory, and instinct. These are the intuitive God-given senses that we have. Now, we all use them, we all know them, he knew them. But to be consciously reminded that they're there and they're available to us. So I want you to imagine that you, yourselves, are out in that forest, that walk. I'm sure in your lifespan you've seen that creek, that little babbling brook. You stop for a moment. You hear the water. You appreciate the fact that water has been traveling from tens of billions of years ago through the cosmos, and now here it is at your feet, running down this little ravine. And there are those stones, worn smooth, representing those powers of instinct and those powers of wisdom and memory and imagination, those God-given truths that you have with you. You've always had them with you. And then David picked those stones up and he continued on his path. Now, this story that I'm sharing with you, some of you may be nodding your head, you know that it's the story of David and Goliath. He met Goliath, and there were words back and forth, and Goliath is painted as this picture that's 8 foot tall, and he's wearing 100 pounds of armor, and he's got all this stuff on him because he's this warrior who just decimates everybody. But what Goliath does in the first book of Samuel, the 17th chapter, in the 7th verse, listen to this. He holds up his spear that looks like a weaver's beam. It says that. Chapter 17, verse 7. You can picture him holding up this spear like, "Rawr," and hanging from that spear are all of the fabrics and the tapestry woven so tightly together, made up of all of the fears that you have brought to the fight. All of the error thinking that you have brought into that arrangement. That's what the obstacle was. And of course, you know the story. David reached into his bag and he pulled out one of those stones and he dropped the giant, hit him right in the middle of the forehead. And then he walks up to Goliath, takes his sword and chops his head off. Metaphysically speaking, he was eliminating the error thinking by chopping off the head. Wow, there's our story. So, I encourage you to, whenever you read the Bible, especially the Old Testament, you can't just read it word for word for word. You have to take the 30,000 foot level view and look at the whole picture and see it metaphysically, because it's just beautiful. Those things I've shared with you are an example of that story of David and Goliath. As a kid, all I remember was, David, the stone, the sling, remember? And he drops the giant. He's now the hero. Oh, it's so deep. Part of that story is David had a vision. He had a goal. His goal was, he had heard as he was walking toward the battle, he had heard people say that the king has said, whoever wins the battle, kills the giant, we're going to give all the horses, you can have all the horses you want. You can have all the land you want. You'll get the hand of the princess, my youngest daughter, in marriage. You and your family will never pay taxes again. You can imagine David is walking through the camp and he said, oh, what was that middle thing he said about what was that middle princess part he said about having the hand of the princess? What was that part? He was already married and, having kids with the princess. That's the only vision he had. Goliath was a minor character in that story, a minor character. But David had this vision. That's what he wanted. Like you have a vision. The vision is, your second career, your what is it your calling is? What is it you're challenging yourself to move toward? Whether you're recently retired and you have a whole new life ahead of you and a whole nother thing, maybe that's what it is. Or maybe it's when you walk out that door into the mission field and you go home and there's your significant other or your neighbor or your kid or your child, whatever. And you have the opportunity to eliminate that error thinking and just realize that's all it is. Just falls apart like a fabric coming unraveled. That's what David did. That's what I see you doing. One last time, I'd love you to close your eyes just for a moment. Picture yourself sitting, imagine yourself sitting in your house, in your favorite chair. Maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's 5 years from now, I don't know. And you have this silly little smile on your face because you've just realized that you are in the process of accomplishing that vision. You are satisfying your divine assignment. You're there. You're doing it. You've had that conversation. My chat with Karen was blissful. It was beautiful. It strengthened my relationship. Your conversations with your neighbors, your family, your significant other was the same. It worked out so well because you were operating with the truth. And you know the difference between truth and error. I invite you now to come back into this room. And with all that, I say amen.
In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release from a world full of chaos and noise. So I wait for these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself.
Maybe lift your chin up so that your face is open to the face of God, just a bit. Feel the muscles in your neck relax. Spin your shoulders maybe just a bit, just to loosen them up and relax. And just like before, just allow the strains and the stresses that you might have come in here with from the week just drip off you, just meaninglessly run down your body to the floor. And breathe. Deep and connected breaths, cleansing breaths. Inhaling peace and love and the serenity that is in this room. And exhaling any unnecessary stress or tension that is no longer necessary to keep. And I invite you to see yourself sitting in that favorite chair in your home. Maybe it's in the afternoon, maybe it's at night, maybe it's early in the morning. It's quiet, it's peaceful. And you're contemplating where you are in your life today. And you see what was that tapestry of error thoughts and fears and silly stuff that turned out to be paper thin and not real. And it falls away. And the truth that you know is that you are a child of the universe. As Paul Hasselbeck says, you are 100% human and 100% divine. And with this knowingness, you feel the incredible support and energy and loving eminence of the Holy Essence with you. And I invite you for just a moment in the silence to experience that truth. And when you are ready, in your time, I invite you to come back into this room, bringing with you that understanding of your true nature. And so it is.
And so it is, this perfect moment. And so it is, this perfect truth. And so it is within my heart. And so it is. And so it is, this perfect moment. And so it is, this perfect truth. And so it is within my heart. And so it is. And so it
Thank you, Lou. Not Reverend Lou, Mr. Lou, for your talk this morning. It was really instructive. I have work to do in thinking about the tapestry that I've invented for myself, and see where that leads me. Thank you. That was wonderful. Now is a time when we acknowledge that all we have comes to us from God, our source, With our gifts, we express our openness to give and receive and our gratitude for God's generous supply.
My gift goes forth on the wings of love, and it lands where it can heal and bless. It returns to be multiplied 1,000-fold as the universe says yes, yes, as the universe says yes.
Let's join together in our affirmation for gifts, which is printed in your bulletin. Together, divine wisdom flowing through me, bless and multiply all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Let's join together in our affirmation for gifts, which is, we just did that. Let's join together in the blessing of our gifts with grateful hearts. We bless our gifts and say, thank you, God, for the abundant blessings we enjoy. We release our gifts as they go out into the world, expressing God's unlimited love, abundance, and supply. For those who wish to contribute electronically, if you're watching on live on your screen, in front of you will see a QR code in the upper left-hand corner of the video, and you can use that to donate during the service or after the service. There is a donate button on our webpage, which you can also use. In addition, you may mail your gifts to Unity in the Heart, 1898 Eigelhart Avenue, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55104. And now it is time for our second guest song.
I was blessed to have a father who always told me that I could be whoever I wanted to be. I had the capacity to live the kind of life I wanted to lead, and he was a wonderful role model in that. And one of the best parts of his role modeling was the captain of his ship was God, and he lived that strongly. And this is a song that I've been wanting to write for about 35 years. He passed away in 1989. I wanted to write about him all those years, and I finally did very recently, and this is the first time we've performed this song in front of people. It's called Riding on the Wind.
This is the first time Dennis has even heard it, and he's going to do it too. So just think, we have...
Born to love the water, filled so many of my days. Hoist the sails and trim in, find a course to set in. I was taught in patient ways. I had a steady captain, and when the weather beckoned, I would jump to go with him, riding on the wind. Sliced the waves below us, caught the breeze above us, watching white against the blue. There were high adventures through the stormy weather. He would show me what to do. No matter what would happen, he was a steady captain. I could put my trust in him, riding on the wind. On a foggy morning, heard the high wind warning. It was steady as she goes. Steady as she goes. Took it all in stride then, felt the rush inside when that old wind began to grow. For my love of water, I am my father's daughter, fills my heart so many ways. If we could go back in time, we'd hop aboard our Cloud9 and relive those perfect days. But as is bound to happen, I have become the captain of my own ship of dreams. Casting all my lines free, I relive the memory of sailing off with him. How I learned so much from him, how to ride upon the wind. Thank you. Thank you, Dennis.
Oh, thank
It's going
you.
to come out on a new album, by the way, and we have some albums here if you want.
Well, thank you for blessing us with the world premiere of your new song. Thank you so much. And thank all of you for your presence with us today, those who are here in person, and those who are going us on the online audience. We at Unity hold all of you and all of us in the light of God's love during the upcoming week. Let us close by singing the peace song and reciting our prayer for protection.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as our creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me, let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us.
I am
The light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are,
God
God
is,
and all is well. Go in peace and have a blessed week.